All right, we're here in the Eleveight booth with Kevin Wade, and you've got a new product here in the booth that has the most Canadian name I've ever heard, Take Off. Okay?
Yes. That's essentially what we're doing. We're going after the Canadian market. So we figured if we made the name, it would catch your attention, and looks like it's working. So, yeah, right on. So yeah, we started working with Manta Foils here recently. They've been around for quite some time, kind of in the e-space. They're based out of Dubai. This is a really cool and innovative system. Obviously, there are other competitors in the market that have kind of paved the way. You know, Foil Drive's doing really well in the segment. And we've, like a lot of industries, people see a need. They see a lot of people, interested in a product. So they've, spent a lot of time in the R&D trying to make it, try to figure out, how can they perfect and at least add something and add value to the segment and not just have something that's kind of a rinse and repeat. So we have two models here. This is the Takeoff Air. Cool thing about the Air is you can actually fly with it. So there are 4 batteries here you'll see. These come apart, and now with that modular, the modular design, you can now take it on a plane and you can ship it, which is one of the biggest things, right? People like to travel. We're kind of nomadic people in the water sports and wind sports industry. You want to be able to go to those different destinations, but anything with batteries is often a problem. So with the Air, you're able to break that apart in 4 pieces and kind of get around that rule and be able to travel with your system. So we have both an integrated mast feature here, and we also obviously have a universal one, which actually I don't have here because the demos are on the water, but I can show you in the box here if you'd like to check that out. So let me see here. Another thing I can show you, I guess, as well is the flow. So here's our packaging. Let me move this stuff out of the way for you. So this is the other unit known as the flow. Larger battery capacity, but because it's not modular, it's also less expensive. So this one will give you up to 80 minutes of battery life. You have your plug-in on the front here. Nice digital readout and display, gives you a lot of data, health of the battery, the obviously battery percentage, and also some other readouts that you can use for adjustments with your takeoff. So here, you got the motor. It's kind of universal. It comes with a bunch of different pad configurations. Kind of just size it on your mast, cinch it down, and off you go. Have a couple of different cord lengths. You can put it in, what we like to call the e-foil mode, right? But you also, depending on your skill level, can move that motor further and further up the mast. If you're literally just using it to cheat, kind of help you get to the point to where you can pump. So whether you're traveling to get out to the surf, or whether you're trying to get a little more boost, add a few more knots to that wind that you have out there, it's a really good system. And like I said, you have the different lengths of cord, so you're not necessarily having to buy a whole different motor system if you're trying to, go from one mode to the other. Have the remote here. Let me see if we got some battery life. Obviously, these things don't necessarily translate completely onto the screen, but you can see here it's got a locked mode. Cool thing, you have the throttle. The throttle is very linear. So really, as it goes up, it feathers. It's not like kind of like a off, on, all the way on. It's really linear. You can really feather that throttle. Has a couple of different modes. You can change the speeds, and has a lot of data that mirrors the data that's on that battery screen. Another cool thing here, you have the additional stay. Let me see if I can pop this out. So you have this, goes between the actual motor module and where the cable sits just below the masthead. And then you have what's called a mini mast. So it's a very small mast that's sitting here. You can kind of see it pictured right here. So this gives some rigidity to the system, allows that line to stay nice and tidy, so that way you have a really good solution that's both hydrodynamic. Hey, here comes Jerry. He actually has the unit, just came off the water. So you can kind of see it in person, but it just fits behind. So that way, that way you can kind of keep it out. We also have, an extended, we have an extended module here for your antenna. So that way, if you have a carbon fiber board, you have something that doesn't necessarily transmit as well through the board, you have that antenna. Obviously, you got a part in the prototype thing. We kind of just slap this thing on, but there is a way to attach it. It does have a 3M attachment that could be attached either to the rear or the front of the board, depending on if you have a sinker, you're in big waves, you really need that constant connectivity. Depending on how many issues you may or may not have, that is an option that does come with the both the Takeoff Air and the Takeoff Flow.
One of the trends that we've noticed here at the AWSI trade show is the increasing use of Aluula material in in wings and in kites, and you've got one of each in the Eleveight lineup. So let's maybe take a look here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously Aluula came onto the scene in 2019. It's a product that's been used in more and more products throughout the industry. Peter, being the perfectionist that he is, he wanted to make sure that even though we were one of the first to actually have the ability to work with Aluula, that it was actually something that provided value and was a good use case before we actually started using it in our product lineup. So now we're actually in the 5th iteration of the material. They continue to improve and make advancements, and we just wanted to, felt it was time to bring it to our product line. So here we have our WFS Pro. WFS is our most popular and oldest wing in the lineup. Has a carbon fiber boom. A lot of people go boom or handles, but the boom has gotten more and more popular as the sport has progressed. So we have a very simplified design here, trying to make it as light as possible. Again, the carbon fiber boom. Obviously Aluula on both the leading edge and the center strut. And you have a new material that's kind of a 6x6 ripstop here on the trailing edge that we're using as a replacement for that Dacron. And it kind of transitions down here in this black material. So it both lightens up the trailing edge and provides some added rigidity. So this is going to be a kind of our medium aspect all-around wing, being our most popular wing. But as we've kind of beefed it up in terms of the materials, we've also added the performance. So before, when it was kind of a do-it-all, it still is a do-it-all. But now our top-level riders are really loving this wing as well.